This edition of The Silent Storm has been previously recorded. No phone calls, please.
WHUR World and HUR Voices presents The Silent Storm.
Shedding some light on alternatives to violence.
Is so many women are silent about it.
Real life.
A lot of people don't realize that it's a cycle and it starts and it escalates.
He didn't recognize what he was doing as being abusive.
Real issues.
We want to apologize to the youngins because of the image that we left for them and let them know, man, stay away from this.
Honestly, if no one teaches you the signs and the signals, you don't recognize them.
Today on The Silent Storm, a powerful story of hope and healing through the trauma of sexual abuse. It is any parent's worst nightmare. Your child has been sexually violated. To add to that horror, the abuse has been going on for years, and the perpetrator is someone you entrusted with your child's safety. This is Mandrell Burks, host of The Silent Storm.
And good morning, this is Denise McCain Addison, co-host. And welcome to another edition of The Silent Storm, the only show on radio devoted to breaking the silence of domestic violence and sexual abuse. Now, our guests today are father and daughter duo who are on a mission to inspire non-abusive relationships. Now, they say no silence is good that keeps you from talking to people who can help you. We're joined on the phone this morning by Peter Harris and Adenike Harris, who are from California, and they're actually joining us this morning to share their story. If you'd like to call in and join in on this conversation, you can do so by calling 202-319-7810. Again, that number is 202-319-7810. Good morning, Adenike and Peter. How are you?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing great.
Thank you
Good morning, guys.
Thank
Good
you
morning.
so much for joining us. I know it's a little early there for you.
What are they, 4 hours behind?
Yes, so we
Wow.
appreciate you getting up and making the effort to be there to share your story, because it is important, and we want to hear about it, and more importantly, we want to help people. So we're starting out this segment when somebody hurts Daddy's little girl. Adenike, if you could please share your story of being sexually abused. I think we understand that this took place between the ages of 14 to 22 years of age by your stepfather. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it was not a good situation. It was definitely a moment of manipulation, lies, just being controlled. The biggest thing that I've learned was at 14, it started as just fondling, and then actual intercourse took place between 16 and 18. And then I guess with 18 to 22, for me, was my own personal battle of fighting back, saying no, but then still falling back into my own patterns of like, well, I don't know any better, not feeling comfortable, not feeling safe, not feeling confident to tell my mom or my dad what was going on, and having this man in my life who perpetrated, because that's the word that I will use about his presence in my life, is that he perpetrated as a father figure to keep me away from my biological father, to keep me even away from my mom, even though I lived in the same house with her. He was very good at keeping a wedge between the two of us with just lies, deceit, a lot of telling me that I wasn't good or other people weren't going to believe me if I told, just all kinds of crazy, disrespectful and damaging things.
And this went on for about eight years.
Yeah.
And Peter, when did you learn about this abuse, and what was your reaction to this news?
Well, we first got the news in 2003. I was still out here in L.A. working, and I remember I was literally at a job and got the message from my son, as a matter of fact, who lives in Florida. Needless to say, the first reaction was, where is the assassin, that I can hire and roll with me to hurt this person and to destroy him. And almost immediately, when Adenike herself reached out to me, she said, "Pops, I need you to take a deep breath, and I need you to just don't do anything. I need you to stop.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, that's the message she gave both me and her moms. And frankly, her mom's is probably more gangster than me. She's from North Philly,
Mm-hmm.
but we made the decision to just listen to her, to listen to Adenike as the only true victim in this situation, and really take a deep breath. And needless to say, it was a monster of a breath, because I'm still taking it, and
I can
still
imagine.
Sometimes have doubts that this is the right thing to do, but that's just human. I know it is the right thing to do, and I'm honored to work with Adenike.
I can imagine, and both Mandrell and I are parents. We have daughters, and mother or father, I'm sure the reaction would have been nothing more than shock, rage, anger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I commend you, and you as well, Adenike, for being able to step back and put the situation in perspective. But I want to help our listeners understand the mindset of a young woman, because, typically when we look at the situation of child sex abuse, the majority of children who are abused, it's 20%. It happens before they're even 8 years of age, and 1 in 10 children, they say, will be abused before the age of 18. When I look at you, this started when you were 14. A 14-year-old has a pretty good sense of right and wrong, proper, improper touching, and nowadays are probably even much more educated about sex and sexuality. What was it within you? And please understand, I'm certainly not by any means blaming you, because you were certainly the victim. But I want people to understand the mindset of a child who is undergoing this type of abuse. What was it in your head that allowed you to feel? I understand that he was threatening you, telling you that no one would believe you, but where was your mind when all of this was going on?
Well, first, let's say I hear what you're saying, and I don't feel that you're blaming me at all. So I want to make sure that you know that. The main thing that I was thinking at 14 was that I still was a kid. I was your typical kid playing outside, football, track and field. Like, I was an innocent, naive child. Sex was never on my brain. I liked boys, but it wasn't. It was just like, oh, I have a crush on him. So for me to have someone touch me in a sexual way and then tell me that this is so that he could, quote unquote, prepare me for the boys in my future, I didn't know how to process that.
Okay.
It was not a conversation that I had ever had with my mom. I was also never, my mom nor my dad, they weren't saying, we didn't talk about sex. Like, I knew what sex was. My mom was very open. Like, we knew about anatomy. We used proper terminology for our parts, but it was just never a conversation that, oh, if this man touches you. So, like, I don't know how to describe my mindset except for at 14 years old, a man who has been married to my mother for 2.5, 3 years, who I started to call daddy, I started to call father, introduce him as, oh, this is my dad.
Mm-hmm.
When this man infiltrated my life and took on that role, and then he began to touch me, my mindset was, this is wrong, but he's telling me, because I trust him, that it's okay.
Did you
And
ever
you didn't
try
tell
to,
your mother at
I was
that
about
time.
to say, did you ever try to
Yeah.
give him like an indicator, because this went on for about 8 years. Did you ever try to give a sign to your parents or to your mom or to your dad, like, hey, something's going on. I need you to ask the right question. I need you to.
Or simply, he's trying to groom me for, as he said, did it ever occur to you to talk about the fact that this was done under the premise that he was helping you, preparing you for your future as a woman?
I did not, at least consciously right now, at 36, cannot say I did anything for my mother to learn. I tried to position myself in areas with her a lot more. Mm-hmm. I did try to do more with mommy. But I find out now through my own healing work and conversations with my mother, he would purposely tell her things about her child rearing, that she was a bad mother, that she didn't raise, her children, my 2 older siblings, very well, that even my dad left her because she wasn't worthy of being married to. So I didn't know that she was saying these things to her, of course, because I'm 14, 15, 16. So anytime I tried to talk to my mom about boys, about dating, especially at 16 in high school, it was something that my mom didn't, I guess, have her own internal confidence to know what to say to me, because my mother did inform me that she had conversations with a friend of hers about an internal mother instinct. She felt that something was wrong, but she didn't know how to approach it to me, to cause suspicion, because this was her husband. And this was a conversation that she had, and her friend informed her, if you think it's happening, then it's probably happening, but where is this coming from? So these are all things that I didn't know. I'm a kid. So my only answer to that is I did the best that I could at 16, but still dealing with, as you all know, the trauma of silence. The reason why it continues to happen is because you're constantly being told, don't tell. This is just our secret between you and I.
Absolutely. So where is your stepfather now?
I believe he's somewhere in Temple Hills, Maryland.
Wait,
actually.
he's not
somewhere
in jail?
Maryland, D.C.
Really?
I know we went to trial. He went to jail, served 6 years. He's registered on the sex offender registry. My cousin looked him up when he got out, so I can verify that I saw his photo there. But that's as much as I know.
How is it you only get 6
there.
years? How do you get 6 years?
Another crime, right?
What was the
That
charge?
is the question of the century.
What was
crime.
what was he charged with, and who came up with 6 years? What was he convicted of?
I'm sure it's
That
sex abuse.
was because it ended up
6
turning
years for that?
from going to trial to a sentencing hearing because he finally pled guilty. So for the first, I guess, Dad, what was it, like maybe 3-4 months, he kept blaming me, saying that I seduced him, that it was all my fault.
You were
that
still
I
a
was,
minor.
Yeah, it was that was his
Exactly.
line of defense.
You were still a
actually, during the
minor.
actual
It's still
court
illegal.
hearing.
Yeah,
How do they come up with 6 years?
That I
Well,
cannot
if
remember.
I wanted
Dad,
to throw something at y'all. I mean, listen, these are some of the questions that I think have freed me and Adenike up. Because, in fact, even during that period when she would visit me in California, and we weren't estranged, we just had a lot of distance, geographical distance. I mean, we didn't have a perfect relationship either, but we were not, I was not out of her life. And I know I consistently asked her about sexuality and sex.
Yeah.
Because I'm from the 70s, and I don't hide from these things. Not the negative stuff we're talking about, the criminal stuff we're talking about now, but the literal developmental stuff that is all about raising good kids. It includes healthy sexuality and conversations about healthy sexuality. But also, honestly, I'm the one who initiated divorce with her mom. I'm the guy who moved 3,000 miles away. And so I think that silence in particular that you were asking about, it is a product of the dysfunction of our family, as it's a family of divorce.
Okay.
Because me and Moms were beefing, and we beefed hard, believe me.
Right. Peter, hold on. Peter, hold that thought because
okay.
we have to take a break. But when we come back, we're going to pick up on this conversation again. You're listening to The Silent Storm on WHUR World 96.3 HD2 as well as Sirius XM, Channel 141 HUR Voices. We're taking a break, but when we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. We're talking about a parent's nightmare, healing from sexual assault. This is a song by Eric Benet called Pretty Baby. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Oh no, I'm invisible because you're blind, jaded and blinded to a chance to take a chance with me.
Now it's your turn to sound off on the issues of domestic violence with Denise McCain and Mandrell Burks on The Silent Storm.